Your students matter and they come first. However, it starts from the very beginning when it comes to your career advisors or your admissions advisors. But here's the thing, a lot of advisors have no idea what the role actually entails when they start. And the problem with that is who gets screwed in the end? Your students. So I am spilling the beans. My name is Kathy Belletti, founder of Motivate with K.A.T, and that is an admissions and leadership training company for career and trade schools. I have been in the industry for about 18 plus years. I was an advisor, a leader, a regional, a VP, so I've seen it all. And I know how bad your advisors wants to win in order to get their students to success. But here's the deal, leaders, if you're going to be interviewing people for this role, you have to tell them the real deal. So I'm about to spill those beans, so let's get into it. Number one, admissions is sales. For anyone who's trying to get into this industry, I know you read a lot about career advisors and the impact that they have on the student success, which is amazing, hence why I'm still here 18 years later. However, when it comes to for profit institutions, it's a sales position. Sometimes you may have class starts that are, beginning every 5 weeks, every 6 weeks, every 7 weeks. And there's a certain amount of students that need to start every session. So that means that when it comes to sales, you have to be able to, number one, know your metrics, know your numbers, and really break down how many interviews you need, how many students need to enroll. You have to think about how many students are being completed and packaged in financial aid. There's a lot that goes into that role because now you have to consider gross versus net. Gross, you have the total number of students that you enroll, and then you have the net number, which are the actual students who start class the very first day. The reason for that is because there's no such thing as 100%. So you may think you have 20 solid students, but emergencies happen. And you have to be able to monitor your expectations where you can say to yourself, okay, these 20, they look okay. But you know what? Being the fact that my start rate is historically, let's say 70%, that tells me that some of these students may drop off. So I have to continuously replace them. It is sales, and that needs to be said up front in the interview, which is why when advisors get started, there's so much pressure that's put on them to enroll, and then they end up enrolling everybody. And then soon, guess what happens? They end up leaving. The turnover in higher education right now in admissions is way too high, and the students are getting the short end of the stick. So that's the first thing, it sells. The second thing, you have to have a lot of emotional stamina when it comes to being an advisor. Understand that when it comes to the career student, they have a lot that's going on. You may have single moms who are working multiple jobs. You may have people in abusive situations. You may have people who are working jobs where they're being disrespected constantly. Self-esteem plays a role. You may have students who feel as if they're left out of the what is it? Their social circles, right? Because they may have graduated with a group of folks who've already gone on to start their careers. They have families, they own property, and now your students feel as if they're left out in the cold. You have to take that in as an advisor in order to help them because it's not just about having a regular conversation and asking a student, so you're ready to start it out. Okay, we're going to do this, yes or no. You have to be able to understand their circumstances, understand their fears, what are their backgrounds, what have they just gone through, because you genuinely want to get them to success. In order to do that efficiently, you have to know who you're talking to. You have to know your audience. You have to know your student and how to get them to the next level. But when it comes to the amount of phone calls that advisors have to make every single day, let's say, for instance, you're on call number 50 and all you're hearing is voicemail after voicemail. Now you get to call 100. Two people picked up, cursed you out, and then hung up. Right now you get to another student and you're talking about their story and it's heartbreaking. You have to be able to hold that together. And when you complete that conversation, guess what? You may have another conversation with a student whose situation is 10 times worse. And you have to be able to let that sink in and then gather yourself again and go back in those trenches and continue talking to students in order to change their lives. Okay, so there is a lot of emotional stamina. If you truly care about your students, some of these situations, they're not just gonna bounce off of you and it's like, oh, on to the next student. That's not how this works. Okay. The third thing is there's a lot of follow up. That goes back to it being a sales position, right? Think of companies who you request information from, and now they start calling you, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I really need to hear from this company, but it's the wrong time. Wonder if they throw in, the hat and they're like, forget it, this person is not even interested. On to the next customer. Who loses out? You. Another thing is sometimes advisors may feel that the closer their students are getting to the class start, the more excited they get. They're like, yeah, I'm about to spend 40 grand and start a new career. That's not it. A lot of times, the closer that your students are getting to the class start, they start to freak out and fear sets in because now them signing the application, it's just reality now. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually about to do this. So this is why follow up is super important because sometimes your students are still searching other schools even after they've registered at your institution. So you have to continue to follow up. There's documents that they need to get into financial aid and academics. A lot of times the system may go left when it comes to financial aid, not because of the financial aid advisors, but because of the process. Getting documents in, getting your proof of graduation in, maybe not qualifying for financial aid fully, and now having to, take out additional loans, or they may have payment plans that they're like, how am I supposed to do this when I'm working part time? Please tell me that. Wonder if you don't follow up on those students. Guess what? Those students are going to go ghost, and you're going to be thinking to yourself, wow, I thought they were solid. No, they weren't, because the last time that you spoke to them was about 3-4 weeks ago, right? So they've already moved on, or they decided, you know what, this job isn't so bad. And then they stay exactly where they are. So now they're in the trenches and they don't reach their goals because you did not do your students' due diligence. There's a lot that goes into this role. So if you are considering this, I want you to consider these three. Remember, it's sales. Number two, there's a lot of emotional stamina. And number three, there's a lot of follow up. Okay, this role is only for people who genuinely care about other people's success. And if that happens, now your students are going to be in the place that they need to be in order to get to those careers. That's the only reason why they called your school in the first place. All right. If you enjoy this content, make sure that you share this with someone, and you subscribe, because I'm going to be back with more secrets. Okay. Until then, see you in the next live.